Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Blacksmith Finest
Come on.
with your boy Pete.
A man like Mo, heavy hitters
Heavy
out
hitters
here.
in the building.
Heavy hitters, yeah.
Yo.
You man ready for this punching bag conversation, yeah? Aye,
Don't hype it up before we put people to sleep.
fam. Put you in a
Yeah.
chokehold and that.
Shout out to Robert, who couldn't be here for very legitimate reasons.
Very legitimate reasons.
Never gonna throw
Yeah,
shade.
I won't call him a pagan.
Yeah.
I won't call him a pagan, even though he is. But this reason is very legitimate. But yeah. Oh, where's my subheading?
Oh, I didn't set any.
Oh, they can't put subheadings on.
Oh, they removed the feature.
Yeah, they removed it.
It might be like a premium thing, and they were giving us a taste.
Maybe. Ah. I just saw the thing and I was like, yo, it just says man like Mo. I was just like, yo.
It's very funny. Give you a little taste of like, upgrade.
Yeah.
But no, I'll use a free
Nope.
version.
Yeah, I'm alright, thanks.
Yeah, nah. So it's heavy hitters in the building. I don't even have a topic. We'll find something as we go.
We'll find something.
But as always, we start with sorry, not sorry. Have you got a question, Mo?
I have got a question. So
Let's do this.
I was scrolling through Twitter. Now I have to confess.
Still do Twitter, yeah?
Yeah, but I don't tweet on that and I just scroll through Twitter. But my Twitter is absolute trash. Yeah. Absolute trash. And I took a leaf out of Peter's book where I was like, I tried to follow the most randomest things. So
Go put that smoke screen up.
yeah. The algorithm is just like, yo, what's going on? What's this guy's into like eclectic? What like yo? But I think on the Telegraph Twitter account, it might not be the Telegraph actually, but in France, there was an article that in France, the Catholic Church have introduced QR codes, wearable QR codes that their priests put on that the congregation can scan to find out if their priest is a registered sex offender. And I wanted to get your thoughts about that.
That's kind of wild.
I want to get your thoughts about that.
So many things come to mind. Is it just that, or is it sort of if they have any criminal history, or is it just sex offenders?
It says specifically sex offenders,
right.
But it may include. Let me try to see if I can find a tweet. It may include just a criminal record. But
okay.
The article specifically mentions if they're a registered sex offender.
Fair enough. Yo, look, it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. But I guess, look, if the priests. All right, let me approach it from this way. Is it wrong in any way? I don't think so. I don't think it's wrong in any way that they are, sort of doing this. The church has agreed. This is how we're going to allow for people to vet our priest. In some ways, we kind of do something similar anyway. You would, for safeguarding reasons, you'd always, check the histories of people that are working in the church, for whatever reason, and we. In some instances, have to do that through official means, like anyone in their children's ministry will go through a DBS check and stuff like that.
Yes.
So there are elements of that I think that we do anyway that we don't that don't look as wild as a QR code that someone can scan. And of course, new things will always feel and have that novelty about them. So I can see the shock value there. But I don't think it's wrong. Now, in I forget where, as is always the case, but some of the requirements for leadership were being a man of good repute, a man of one wife, the household is in order, as it were.
Yeah.
Um, and so
That household is in disarray, boy.
I think there is an element of, ideally, your priest, this shouldn't be a thing
Yeah.
that's, that stops people from being priests. That said,
Yes.
everyone's had a past and God's in the business of redemption.
No, brother.
No, not regarding not regarding sex offense specifically. I'm
Yeah.
coming at it from a more general point, and then I'll focus in on
Mm.
that. Everyone's got a past, so I'm thinking like even Paul. Paul was he was a legitimate murderer, persecutor of
Yeah.
the church,
Yeah.
and the dude that was holding the coats of those that stoned
Yeah.
my guy, so it's like even he had to deal with a history and a past, but his the fruits of his actions, the fruits of his character, would allow for these things to be overcome, and so people would be
Yeah.
like, no, we saw him proclaiming the gospel.
Yeah.
He's legit,
Yeah. Yeah. To the point
Now,
where churches didn't want to engage with him,
yeah,
but then they saw his fruit and then they were like,
exactly,
all right, cool.
exactly. So, again, there's precedence for the redemptive action of God to be, yeah, this person was a murderer, but look at how I'm going to use him, arguably as one of the greatest of apostles. So there's that. Now, the sex offense thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not surprised that it's the Catholic Church doing this? Not to throw shade at the Catholic Church in any
Nah,
way, because
yeah.
I don't mean to disrespect them, but if there's a history of priests doing, unbecoming things,
Yes.
there's a you call it a stereotype, call it rumor, whatever.
Yeah.
There's where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been a history of this, and there's been a history of the church actively covering up. A priest gets accused of this, and they move the priest. They don't remove him. They move him from that locality to another place, and he's still a priest, and he's still doing the same things. So if this is them taking action, if this is them saying, we are aware of this, this history, we're aware of this, this mark on our, in our past, and this is how we're addressing it. Now you can so easily scan this QR code and see. I think that's it's a wild action, but I think actually it's probably a good one. I think it shows some sort of self-awareness, and some sort of action to mitigate that, some sort of way of saying, nah, here's the arguments will always be made, how many of them have been caught, or are there reports, and are they still doing this thing of just moving them? And so because it hasn't gone as far, they've just moved the priest. You can scan the QR code, it says nothing, doesn't mean he's not doing anything, and doesn't mean that all priests do stuff. That's not what I'm trying to imply. But I think at the very least, I think it's a bold move, but if I can see the heart behind it, and I think it's it's well intentioned at the very least.
Do you know what? I just read it again. It's not actually by the Telegraph. It's by another one, almost like the Shade Room type pages. Yeah. But I was reading
everything I said with if it's true.
I just read the comments, and obviously other people are like, oh, it's not true, but people are like, I've just searched it up and it is true. Apparently it's not even the Catholic Church. Like, I'll read out the thing. Catholic priests in France will be forced to wear a scannable QR code to signal whether they are sex offenders as part of a national crackdown on abuse, according to the church officials.
Yes. So this is a government down.
This is a government thing.
Right.
Under the new system, people can scan the wallet-sized card. People can scan the wallet-sized cards with their smartphones to receive a 1 of 3 color code revealing the clergy member's status, according to the Bishops' Conference of France. Red shows that the priest has been stripped of his clerical position, potentially due to to child sex abuse,
Right.
though the nature of the sanction is not specified. Green is a sign that the priest is in good standing, while orange indicates that he is not yet fully qualified to lead mass. The system announced May 10th is an effort by the church to appear more transparent. Also applies to bishops and deacons. France 24 report. So yeah, it seems like it's a but it's in
It's a government down thing
collaboration
that they're
with
collaborating with. Yeah.
yeah
Yeah. So again, yeah, I think it's.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I immediately thought of the prank to just have a. You know, you can just have like a red. Just put a red screen on your phone. And just walk. Just walk around the dude, and then let's let them see the red just shine on the
Yeah,
side. Like,
yeah. But it's like, imagine that though, yeah. Because I was talking to another guy that we know, and he was like, "Yo, if my man has this level of a criminal offense, why still have him in a position of authority? Just take him out. Just take him out."
I mean, here's the thing though, and this is what I was saying about the whole redemption thing. It's a good generalized rule, but our entire faith is based on the redemptive action of Christ.
Yes, and I think the position of leadership is one that has to be safeguarded
And
because
then
of the influence.
I'll point you straight to Paul.
Yes, but the thing is, I think there's a difference between
Sex offense and murder.
bro. No, but I was gonna say there's a difference between the offense being committed whilst installed as a leader and before being installed as a leader.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so
but does this
if it
differentiate
occurred,
between that though?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know.
No, that's a fair point though. That is a fair point.
If it occurred whilst you were a leader, stripped, sacked, like excommunicated, flogged, all of them things there. But if it was prior to, even then, bro, would you feel comfortable with a sex offender baptized in Zara? That's a long pause. That's a very long pause.
I mean, if
Full immersion.
like
None
I'm
of
not
these
there. Why are
sprinkling
you saying
things.
it like I'm not
Bro,
there? Baptism
nah.
isn't a private thing.
It's not a private thing. Oh, you're not touching my daughter, bro. You're not touching my kid. Full stop.
No, so I think that distinction is important. That was this committed, say, before you came to Christ, or was this committed whilst you were in a position of power?
Yeah.
I still think there's redemption there, but not in that regard. Like you don't do that, fall off, and then come back and you're right back where you were.
Right back.
You don't do that. That's just not wise.
Yeah.
But I mean, to answer your question, I wouldn't feel comfortable per se, but if I knew the person, and again, if this happened in their past before they came to Christ or whatever, like you can know someone and know, or not, you can know someone and see that, oh no, actually you want this person that you once were, sort of thing. Yeah,
I've heard too many stories, bro. I've heard way too many stories about this. Like there was this one documentary where a group of young adults who grew up in this particular Catholic church were all speaking about the abuses they suffered at the hands of the priest. And one of the young adults, who's now a woman, her father was speaking on the documentary, and her father was like, yo, it got to one point the priest like didn't have a place to live and he welcomed him into his house, and he hadn't known that the priest was abusing their child. So now
while staying in the house.
Bro, this was prior to him staying in the house. So now that he's in the house, them lot were like, oh, yo, like me and my wife are chilling downstairs watching TV without realizing that this priest is upstairs abusing our child in our own house. And so I'm like, so for me, it's very much a case of, even if I think that you are past this, I'm not taking the risk with my child.
Yeah, but yeah. No, that's slightly different. Inviting them into your home, but
Nathaniel,
they didn't know.
up to comment.
Oh, D.
That's the reason we
Yeah,
must have the
yeah,
spirit to discern. Yeah,
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 absolutely. Facts, absolute facts. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to OD Nat.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
it's just mind blowing, and it's just like the dad was like, "Yo, I want to murder this guy," and I'm like, and the daughter was like, the daughter knew that his dad would want to murder the priest, so the daughter went to school and asked, "Oh, what happens to someone if they murder someone?" And the answer was like, "Yo, like the person's gonna go to jail." And she was like, "I didn't want to grow up without my dad,
she didn't
so I
tell
didn't
him.
tell him."
That's crazy. That is
Boy.
crazy.
So
That is
yeah, and
crazy.
so I'm just like, you know what? And for me, it's almost like putting a recovered alcoholic
Yeah,
in
alcohol.
to run a pub.
Yeah, yeah.
It don't make
Yeah,
sense.
and but again, all of these are from the perspective of we know, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like we know,
Yes.
and I think the danger and the really terrifying thing is, for the most part, a lot of these cases we don't know.
We don't
Like the
know.
dad didn't know and invited a priest, and
Yes.
you know if you
Yes.
invite a priest into your house, that's almost a blessing. You know, if the
Yeah.
priest was African, he'd be
Yeah.
like, yeah, you did like Elijah, may the oil in your pot never ran out, sort of thing. You know,
When you give one of these people in my name a cup of cold water,
when you when,
you will receive.
when you welcome the prophet in the name of a
You,
prophet, you receive a
yes,
prophet's
you prophet's
reward.
reward.
So
Yes.
come and pay your
Yes.
collection. No, so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That is the dangerous. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so
It's
yo.
scary.
Shout out to France, man. Let them roll that out. Let them roll that out all over.
I swear, France needs to be running this as a trial run. If it works, let's extend it. Let's extend it to the whole EU. Even though London, England's been a pagan, let's extend it. Let's bring it over this part, man.
Yeah, man.
But imagine though, you're in the middle of service, you scan the QR code and it comes up red. Carnage. Carnage. What? You know, like that. Like you just see man just like, what? When he's like, oh, Jesus said, bring the children to me, let me lay my hands on them. What?
Raise my hand like, oh, he receives it. No, no, no. I've got a
No,
question.
I've got a
What are you
question.
doing here?
Bro, bro, according to my phone, yeah, you're red. Brother, it gives a whole new meaning to he touched me.
All right. Let's move on, man. Let's move on. That's mad. That is mad.
Yeah, yeah,
No, cool.
yeah. You got a question for me?
I have a question. So my question was, what is your favorite sort of not extra biblical, but your favorite argument from God outside of the Bible,
Oh,
the existence of God?
favorite argument for the existence of God
Yeah.
outside of the Bible. I think my favorite argument for God outside of the Bible is the harmony of the universe, the
Okay.
harmony within the universe, the interdependent nature of the universe, where everything is reliant on itself. There is this ecosystem where nothing is wasted. Everything has its place. Even the dust that floats through the air serves a function, serves a purpose. Everything from the bacteria to like the fishes to the trees, like and the animals, everything serves a function. And arguably, if we knock any one out, it has a knock-on effect on the rest of creation. From the simple thing of humans, them finding the same sort of minerals and stuff within the human body as they find in asteroids. It's just like, again, it kind of gives credence to this notion of man being made from the dirt of the earth sort of thing, where it's just like, asteroids that aren't on Earth, there's still this this thing, and it's also like the human body is wired in such a way that it should have more like there's a great chance of things going wrong, but it's still being held in this delicate balance.
So
And
sort of
so
the evidence of design argument.
yeah, just and I think it's, for me, it forces individuals to slow down, to perceive the world around them, to perceive this harmony. Because even in Romans, when it says like the invisible attributes of God is seen in the visible world, it's like, yo, like we catch glimpses of the creator through the created. And that's why people almost end up worshiping the created, because they catch a glimpse of the divine through it, without realizing that this is just this is a broken glimpse of something much greater. So yeah, I would lean on into the harmony of the created world. That can't be a coincidence. Yeah, just this ecosystem isn't, like, you can't look at the Apple ecosystem and say that's a coincidence. Okay. Not saying mine would be the issue of morality.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to unpack that, bro.
Yeah.
Because we had a discussion on morality and like the different flavors of it almost. Because yes, a person was arguing, I'm not going to mention names, but a person was arguing for morality almost being pseudo morality, and the only real morality being founded on the Bible, and that is the true morality. Which, again, depending on the line of defense that you're in, you may argue for or against that. But yeah, there's like a flavor of, yeah. In a secular world, anyways, there are different flavors of morality. I think you might be the only person that can respond comments.
Oh, can you not respond?
No, I can't respond. I can only respond in our private chat, but not in the comments.
Yeah.
Might because you're hosting.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be a hard one to
type.
Unpack through comments.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye.
I mean, he can voice note you, and then we can potentially play the voice note.
If OD is available, I've sent him a link to
Oh, sweet.
If he can. Hey, we might be getting OD.
Hey, come on.
But yeah. The issue of morality, I like that. So mine's always been there's the evidence of design, that harmony that you speak of. Hey, OD's coming. Hey, this is exciting, man. Recently, I've liked the fine tuning argument as well, which is that Earth and the way the universe is, we can only be here because the entire thing is fine tuned to support life. And interestingly, like on a Joe Rogan podcast, an astrophysicist was on there, and he wasn't even making I watched a clip of him. He wasn't even making like a religious point, but he was just making the point that it's actually somewhat of a miracle that we have the Earth in our universe. And he said like this. He said the Big Bang went in a direction that was compatible with life. And that in and of itself suggests the Big Bang as it occurred it's not inevitable that leads to life. There's so many other different things that could have happened, but the direction it took is one out of potentially significantly more that can lead to life, that can lead to sustaining life. And then you look at, the order of things, the fact that the Earth is the exact distance it is from the sun, the fact that we're spinning the way we're spinning, the fact that our protons, so that he mentioned something about, there's so many other universes, and actually a lot of them are dead universes. We have stable protons in our universe that allows for carbons, to create and DNA to be formed. And there are so many universes that don't have that, and by virtue of that end up just being literally just being dead universes. And, you know, the fact that our star, the main star, is the way it is and isn't a collapsing star, as we see so many go on, you know, so many things that show it's like everything's been fine-tuned in our particular universe to support life. And then there's the argument of the moral law as well, that I found really interesting. And you mentioned in the group, and again, I don't know, maybe just typing stuff in the group, I'm starting to find a bit difficult. I like the voice notes, especially because I listened 2 times. But moral law has been one. So C.S. Lewis makes that point in Mere Christianity. And that's increasingly becoming my favorite one, because that speaks to something that we all as human beings cannot deny. And OD might speak to this, but the idea of there are certain things we all agree, we all understand are laws, but not necessarily laws in the sense of you can break a law, but laws in the sense of this is just what things do. Gravity, you throw something up, it's going to come down. That's just what it does. However, there's something in people that suggests there's something else. So you see a dog or whatever, there's a threat, the dog runs away, or the cat runs away. There's that flight or fight response. If he's territorial, he's going to defend his territory. There are certain things that define that. With human beings, there's something else. There is the sense of, I need to run away to preserve myself. And then there is maybe empathy or something that suggests maybe I want to help or I want to do something. But there's something else there that then suggests you go with empathy, as opposed to the one that's more beneficial to yourself, which is self-preservation. You know, there's something else, and that something else has to be, or there's something behind that something else. That can't be just science. We can't determine that because it doesn't fall into what we understand. Our hormones don't tell us to do the right thing. Our emotions or whatever don't necessarily,
psychology, emotional state, like we can't chalk it down to anything.
The right thing, but there is an understanding of the right thing that we all can agree on. Like regardless, we all, and there has to be something behind that.
Do you know what I like in saying that? I like that, and I think when I had asked Nat the question, I was almost still in a mind frame of how does morality point to the God of the Bible? But even in my argument, in terms of divine, like the design of the thing, and in yours, it doesn't particularly point to the God of the Bible. It points to a God. It points to something greater. And so wherever you almost equate morality coming from, it points to something beyond us that connects all of us together. Because if this is a morality that we all share, then there's a collective, that there's something that connects us all together, that is outside of us, that we can't really point to or anything. But then the question, almost the next logical question, is if there is a God, which one is the true God? And then that kind of leads down different forks and stuff.
Speaking of forks, we're at a crossroads. We're at a fork in the road. We're at a position where this podcast has never been before. And it is with this level of hype that I am exceedingly excited to welcome the one and only OD. We call him OD. It's not overdose. It's Odadie. It's a Ghanaian thing. Don't worry. Nathaniel Tetteh, welcome to the stream.
Hey, come on.
You have to be careful how you say that, you know.
I know, right? I know. I just cloaked. People are like, OD, why? Is he? No, it's not overdose. It's not overdose at all.
No. It's nothing to do with narcotics. But Nat's been on before, though. Nat's been on before. But I think when we were talking about like the Black Lives Matter stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He came on. Yeah.
Well, that's some time ago.
That is time ago.
Anyway,
reintroduce yourself, bro.
But I think the part I meant was having a podcast going on and then someone joins
Yeah,
that we've never done before.
Never done
So,
before.
That's right.
yes. Please
Interesting
introduce
topic.
yourself there again.
Interesting questions.
Odi.
Oh yeah. Sorry. My name is Nathaniel Tetteh.
Hey.
Come on.
Yeah, I've been a long time fan of this podcast.
Hey.
I'm always listening. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Nah, so love, man.
It's dope. Yeah.
Do you know
I
what's
mean-
gassing? Do you know what's gassing me though? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, and I think I'm right, but I'm seeing the computer build
You're right.
to the left hand side. I'm seeing the ring light.
You're right.
What?
Bro,
Gassing me.
I should hide that.
I'm seeing the ring light. I'm seeing the plexiglass see through.
Bro.
But I'm even guessing because it was so impromptu. That's why, because OD has like a proper like streaming setup for multiple cameras.
I know, it's crazy. I was actually in bed. I was watching this in bed. So I had to come downstairs. Quick one, yeah.
No, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for coming.
real,
Then
man.
times during COVID when we were doing like the Zoom church. OD's doing Zoom church for his church, and they've got multiple angles. There's one angle on the family, one angle on him. That's just like, yo.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, you can't be on the multimedia vibe and come with the one camera setup.
You
All the
know,
ones
you have
there.
to come correct.
With the 4K cameras, you
Yeah,
do what? Multi-cam setups, yeah? And you've got the flipping thing to be able to switch cameras at any given time. The mics are up, but yeah. Let me not. Yeah,
Bro,
thank you for coming.
derail
Thank you
the
for coming,
thing.
Adi.
Facts.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you came straight into the hot seat. So-
That's why I came. It was a hot question that needed. Needed
So yeah,
sharing. But
if you can unpack the issue of morality being your favorite argument of for God.
yeah, I really love that question. I mean, and the previous one was deep as well. So my favorite one being the issue of morality is I witnessed this conversation that went on, and this guy was like, right, okay, let's forget the Bible, right? Let's forget the Bible. A man walks into your house and he's about to kill your wife. Right, just think about that for a minute. Just reflect on what is about to happen. Do you think what he's doing is right? And the question was why? Why your answer? And then he progressed to say, right, okay, you're saying it's wrong for him to do that, break into your house and is about to kill your wife. Okay. Where is the thought process coming from? Why are you thinking that what he's doing is right? Is it a decision you have made on your own, or is it an influence, influence from external forces that is causing you to think that what he's doing is right? What if the guy who is doing what he's doing thinks that what he's doing is right, and you're saying is wrong? So it went back and forth, and they got stuck because they realized that if I have my own set of rules, and everybody else is allowed to have their own set of moral standards. Let me put it that way. Let me be specific. If everybody has their own level standard of moral, what you call it, thinking, then there will be chaos. This is not bringing the Bible in. We're just talking about normal human life, and you realize there will be chaos. So that goes to show that there must be a moral standard that everybody, regardless of country, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity, wherever you come from, there must be a standard that everybody is going by. So without me meeting you, if you're in another part of another part of the world, without me knowing you, we will still agree that it is wrong for someone to rob my house and kill my family. Now, where is that moral standard coming from? Because if you trace humanity backwards, generations before us and the generations before them and the generations before them and the generations before them have always believed the same thing. So where did it come from? We cannot say it came from the Big Bang or whatever, how did they even put it? Like a you know, like a physical activity that has occurred. Now, we are now talking about morality. We're talking about thoughts, how our brain thinks and processes. So that means that there must be a moral authority that is informing our ability to even agree on these simple things, although we may be, millions of miles away.
Yeah.
And the question was, so who is that moral authority? That was it.
That's good.
And then
I like
he
that.
went into the fact that it has to be the creator. If someone has created us, if it's Big Bang, it's not possible because there isn't a personality behind Big Bang.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can't attribute the moral authority to a person or to an authority. Let's assume it's not even a person, to an authority. We can't attribute that. But for us to be able to say that if you agree that there's a moral authority, then there must be somebody behind it. If someone has created something, then there is somebody behind the creator, or there's somebody behind the created who is the creator.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really love that that argument. It was really because he did not even go into the Bible at all.
Yeah.
He didn't even touch the Bible. But then they ended with the fact that there has to be somebody. So who do you think?
Yeah. C.S. Lewis makes the argument. He makes that same point as if you're reading like sheet music, the thing that tells you which note to play cannot be a note itself. Like it can't be the note that tells you which notes to play. There's something else that has to tell you. And I think Mo, you were alluding to that point of it. At this point, we're not talking of any one specific God. We are just talking of there being something behind it. We are talking of God. There has to be something. Yeah. And then the next step is, okay, then which one is right? And I think there's a framework for that as well that narrows it down to God. As we know him, Yahweh. But yeah,
can I throw a spanner in the works? I'll throw a spanner in the works. Moral law. I do like it. Yes, I do like it. I do like it. But I'm a tug on the okay. So I'm gonna use some examples. We know that impaired psychology or impaired cognitive function may distort or warp people's perceptions of reality and what should and shouldn't happen in reality. Now that's one case. Abuse, trauma, which again impairs cognitive function and has some psychological impacts, impairs people's sense of what is right and wrong. The way people were raised, for example, they may think selling crack and watching people like die of overdoses is cool because I'm still getting paid and my family are cool. So that sense of morality is warped. When we have wars where, again, some people in wars will treat the killing of somebody else as something, I'm taking an innocent life or whatever. But other people, trigger happy, just running through the stuff. I'm here, I'm doing this thing. And so there's almost this reality of varying standards of morality. And arguably, if someone was to walk into my house to kill my wife, there is an emotional investment in that relationship that I am like, yes, it will be a shame to lose a human being, but it will be even more like hurtful because I love this person. I will still feel it's a shame if my neighbor got shot, but bro, I don't lay beside my neighbor every night. Like I don't have kids with my neighbor. Like it's a shame.
Yeah.
But there'll be a different level of investment because of that empathy. And so it's almost like morality plays out slightly different. And I think that's the thing that I have with the morality thing. In as much as I love it, I'm also like, when we look across the spectrum of humanity, like we had a Hitler who had a very different standard of morality.
So let
Obviously.
me ask this though: is it morality that is differing, or is it the individual's circumstances or the individual's perception of their circumstances? You gave the example of the guy that's selling crack, and in your example betrays something, because you said he can see other people smoking it and dying, and it's cool because he's getting paid and his family is good. There's still something there that means, and this is the thing I was making the point of the moral law being something that we seem to be able to. I didn't make that point, but the moral law being something that we seem to be able to break. So C.S. Lewis pointed out that gravity, we can't break gravity. A stone has no part of the conversation as to whether or not it will fall. If it's dropped, it will fall.
Do I feel like giving it gravity?
It doesn't suddenly remember, gravity means I have to fall. It falls. So there's certain laws that we seem to understand can't be broken, right? But then there seems to be this one law in human beings, and we know it's in human beings because we can all attest to it as human beings, that we seem to be able to break, but seems to suggest something otherwise. And so in the example of the crack dealer, there's something in him that knows selling crack is wrong, to the extent where Biggie will say, don't get high off your own supply. There's something that he knows it's wrong. But then, in as much as he knows it's wrong, there's something that allows him to break that and say, it's fine for someone else to do it, so long as I don't, because then me and my family are cool. Same situation with the person coming into your house and killing your wife. Yes, you will see it differently because of that emotional investment. I don't have to have that same emotional investment in your wife to see that it's wrong for you.
I hope not.
That makes sense.
What?
I'm feeling hot all of a sudden.
Problems. Man's gonna drive up to Kent right now.
Bro.
And again, you said it yourself, if you see the neighbor getting that happen to them, you'd be like, yeah, it's wrong. You don't lay by them, but you know it's wrong. Now we go to someone like a Hitler.
Still being wrong.
So now we go to someone like a Hitler, who in his demented way of looking at the world, this Aryan perfection thing he was looking for, blue-eyed, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, whatever, was perfection that he wanted, which he didn't have, but was something that he felt this needed to be the case. Now, again, even if he's to say this is right, that's him exerting the unique ability of human beings to break the moral law. Because somehow he's deciding, in as much as I don't have this, I'm not blonde and blue-eyed, I want to kill everyone else that isn't to try and make this perfect thing. Does that make sense? And so, again, he's demonstrating a breaking of this moral law, which will speak to free will and all of those things. But that doesn't change the existence of the moral law.
No,
We
I
can
like
all
that.
agree.
I like that.
We might have differences in culture, and so I grew up where my dad would literally physically beat me, and the culture around. Because I don't say that as a victim of anything. It wasn't.
Bro, you're not alone. You're not
I
alone.
think everyone on this call has endured that. I think everyone on this call has endured that.
And you would
I was having flashbacks.
Well, here's the other thing. To speak to the culture, that beating would be the second beating or the third beating you would have received that day, because your uncle who saw you coming home from school doing stupidness would have given you the first taste. And then your dad
teacher at school would have added on to it.
So that was a cultural thing where maybe we all now agree there was an element of don't beat your children because you're angry at them for whatever. You don't beat them senseless, sort of thing. We all culturally agree that. However, that doesn't change the morality of the situation. At the time, my dad thought this thing that you're doing can kill you. This small beating will stop you from doing that thing that can kill you. That's his understanding of providing you with with discipline, with chastisement, right? we maybe understand it slightly differently around here, especially because the government will start to get involved for no reason. But we understand it slightly differently. You're taking PSVs away, or you're taking PS5s away.
Yeah.
It's still the same idea, still the
And I
same
guess,
morality expressed
I
differently.
guess even underlining that there is the notion of people like across cultures, even though they approach it differently, morality almost denotes that discipline is a virtue to have.
Exactly.
And
that's
culturally,
where-
how do we arrive at discipline? This culture is like, I'm going to beat you. This one is like, I'm going to take your PS4. This one I'm going to start, like whatever it is. And we may have views on the method, but we all agree that the end point
underlying
is
thing.
desirable.
Yeah.
So the moral standard is the moral standard is what it is. That is not going to change. Our environment influences our interpretation of how we want to reach that moral standard.
I like that.
C.S. Lewis again said, so I've been reading Mere Christianity recently, so I'm using C.S. Lewis like crazy. But he said, imagine a society in which bravery is a bad thing, on which cowardice is rewarded. Like, or we all can agree, we all can say, okay, it's good to have one wife or two wives or three wives. We all can somehow agree on whatever that is, but no one will agree it's good to just take whatever wife you want. Regardless of the differences in our culture, regardless of the differences in our interpretation of things, there remains something underlying that we all subscribe to. Interestingly enough, that same thing is something that we all can then break, and that we often do. But the existence of that thing suggests the existence of someone to have created that thing. Because that thing can't just be us. You know, we can't be the thing telling us what to do. There's something else behind that. And again, not
do you know what? It
necessarily
actually
the
reminds
Christian
me
God,
of
but the God.
It reminds me of two passages, even one passage and one notion that I've come across. So the passage is I place before you life and death. Please choose life, but you've got the freedom to choose death. And so almost like God has laid out like how you ought to live, and he's like, yo, like I implore you to adhere to this, but you can choose to go against it. And again, there's the standard. It will be beneficial for you to live up to it, but you can choose to go against it. And so again, the argument of free will. And I think John Piper had mentioned, I think it was John Piper, it may not be, but I think it's John Piper, while studying, read that. It may not be him, actually, maybe one of the other Calvinist guys I was listening to or reading, but they had mentioned two categories of God's will. So there's the moral will, which can be broken, and then there's the sovereign will, which can't. And so it's almost like man's free will operates within the moral will, alongside the moral will, but the sovereign will almost trumps all of that. And again, it depends on how you view the relationship of those two things, which will all, again, kind of affect theology kind of moving forward, but they kind of differentiate it. So they're almost like the 10 Commandments and the laws and all of those things fall under the moral will, if you will. And it's like, you can break these and there are consequences and blah, blah, blah. But this is the will of God, that we live up to the standard, but you can go against it.
Definitely. The will of God, in fact, plays a massive role in trying to understand, the moral standards. It's a huge thing. Because if we didn't have the will to choose, then God can make us do whatever he wants us to do. But because he's given us that will, and I'm quite happy you mentioned that, because the sovereign will of God is like when the Bible says heaven and earth will pass, that you can do whatever you heaven and earth will pass. That's the sovereign will of God. And there are
Elon Musk listening to this podcast. he's trying to make Mars the thing.
Even if we take, like, Jesus will die. like Jesus was slain before the foundations of the earth. The death of Jesus is part of the redemptive story that was in place from time, like before the foundations. So that was part of the sovereign will. And it's almost like Judas and all of them man who played parts of it broke God's moral will to bring about the sovereign will.
Yeah.
Kind of into play.
How about that?
Yeah.
And it was their choice.
It was their choice.
Thing
Yeah.
well. It was their choice.
Yeah.
I remember saying this once. I think it was in a comment thread or something. This is a while ago. I was like, "Oh, I don't believe in God." I was like, "Yeah, that's your God-given right. It's your God-given right to not believe it. So say thank you, God."
Oh boy.
But yeah, that's super interesting.
If people could reach through computers,
I'm telling you,
it would be problematic.
you're in trouble.
I wonder though, because it seems like we're 50 minutes in, so we might as well just continue. Nat, do you have a question to throw to us?
Bro, I didn't come with a question. I didn't come with a question.
I know.
I just got out of bed.
I know we can keep chopping it up, but obviously it's a freeway. This is the first of its kind. So yeah, you can dream about something. We can kind of continue chopping it up.
I've got a further sort of follow up though.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to. I mean, as you said, we're sort of in the weeds here. How do you then go from there to Yahweh?
From moral law to Yahweh, or from argument?
So we've all sort of made an argument for an existence of a God.
Of a God, yeah.
Yeah. So how do we go from there to God? Yeah.
So if you asked me, assuming I've just had that conversation with you, and we've gotten to the point where may agree or disagree that there must be a moral standard, right? Then the presentation of the Bible comes in straight away. I mean, that is the opportunity to open up the Bible then and say, right, this is my answer to that moral standard. Okay. And then I think that is where the door opens up for biblical truth. Aside from
I swear you spoke like a true evangelist, man. I swear you spoke like a true evangelist, man.
But you see, it's I've been I don't know if you've seen. I'm sure you've seen. Give me an answer.
No.
Is it a YouTube channel?
Yeah, this professor.
I think I've come across it.
Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, give me an answer. And he's a professor on a university campus, and he spends time just talking to people and answering questions. Yeah, it's give me an answer on YouTube. It's very, very interesting because over the years he's developed the skill of not answering questions straight from the Bible. He uses practical life, things that we experience.
I like that, Don.
And then he will get you to the point where you realize there must be something beyond this point. Then he will chip in the Bible, and then that is where you can't then. Well, he's not asking you to agree with him, but he's saying this is my answer. My answer is this to this question, because you can't seem to give me the answer to that question. So this is my answer, and then you have to go and think about it.
Gonna be checking that out.
It's an old.
Yeah. That's definitely a good hookup.
Yeah.
Cool. Mo, how would you get there?
So I think if I was to go from the harmony of the world, I would.
Oh, I like that as well.
That's good. That's a good argument.
Yeah, not even just the world. I'll say the argument of like the universe, in that like for all the planets to be circling the sun in a particular order without collision, without like all of these moons and stuff, just like all of that harmony. And even as scientists go into like multiple different universes, there seems to be this ever expanding ecosystem. And I say ever expanding, it's expanding to our awareness, not in its presence. It's there, but our awareness of it is ever expanding. Yeah. there seems to be this harmony, this something that is keeping it together. And I would almost argue that with everything in such harmony, it points towards an individual. It points towards like one thing. It has a point. It has a focal point. And then I was saying, biblically, like Jesus is presented as the focal point of all of creation. In that the whole earth was created through him and for him. Like he is the word that was that progressed might not be the word, that came out and like created everything. And it's like everything and like left to our own devices, men fell. But again, when we are reunited with this one thing or this one being, everything is taken back into perfect harmony with the creator. Like everything is brought back into harmony. I think it will be a bit of a stretch with that argument. My argument always goes back to, if we say there is a God, how do we gain a relationship with this God, or how do we please this God? So if everything is like in this harmony and it points to something greater, how do we gain access to this greater thing? How do we ensure right standing or being in the right space with this thing? Because if you have the power to create multiple universes, bro, I do not want to be on your wrong sides. I don't want that. It's peak. And it's like almost the argument that you made, Peter, in terms, oh, cool, like what would be your good works? But we all know that no one lives up to the moral standard. We all break it. And this is we're not even looking at the 10 commandments. We're just looking at the moral standard. If life is valuable and we ought not destroy life, bro, that Nando's you just ate, you just took a life. You stepped in an ant, took a life. Like, man's like, relax. Like, bro, everyone's feeling hot. You know, like that. Like, is it only classified as murder when you kill another human being? At what point is it classified as murder? At what point, like, if you when you cut your grass, are you murdering an intelligent life, life organism?
Life down. Oh dear.
Like, how do we classify life? How do we go about that?
Sorry, can I cut in a bit? This argument is a very intellectual argument. You need someone who knows science, you know. And I've listened to a few. I'll try and see if I can remember a couple of things, but the physical world. Okay, so let's go back to Genesis, and you see that God created everything before he created man, right? So you consider the laws of physics and all those laws. The reason why we're saying those laws cannot be changed is because they were established before man was, so gravity is gravity, whether you like it or not. So when you go into the universe and you consider the creations and all the things we see, and in fact the scientists keep continuing to discover things, scientists can only tell what it is, why certain things happen, but they can never tell you how it happened, how it was there. They've come up. I mean, just recently, we saw pictures that goes deep into universe and
the James
all kinds of things. They see it's there, even with the Milky Way. They can tell what is happening. Well, not even tell, but it's all assumptions. That's something a professor said the other day because he was a Christian. He was saying, if you consider all the theses and all the papers and all the stuff that all these professors have written, they're all theories, they're all assumptions. And I mean, the mathematicians amongst us will know that when you go into like logs, for instance, logarithms, there's a lot of assumptions in there. In fact, in mathematical calculations, we have this sign that's it's equal to sign with a line over the top. It's
approximately,
it's an approximation. A lot of the answers to the questions scientifically are all approximations, but because nobody else has a better answer, we accept the answer that has already been given. So when you consider those things, you realize that there is no absolute truth in what the scientists say is the cause of creation.
There's almost more faith required for the scientists
to be an atheist.
You know what? that is so true.
So you believe
that is so true.
Out of nothing, it exploded. Cool.
And out came something.
Something
came out of nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see for the universe to be, for creation and things to they have this symmetry, this beautiful sort of like melody to the way things are. Even when we look at how man creates things, how you look at Apple, you look at Microsoft, you look at computers, you look at all these things, and we marvel at how man is able to create them. But when you look at the biological things that are natural, that have already been created, it is, you must be, I don't know, a god to think that, not a god, no, some kind of a being to think that there is, you must have some kind of power to know that this was created by a man, or it just appeared. I mean, it will not make sense to anyone. It will not make sense to anyone. But they would not agree that it is a god. That is the only thing. And then of course, then that opens the I think the door to bringing in the idea of a god.
I think and I recognize that in my argument I went down a path that I wouldn't normally go down. My argument was, as you said, intellectual. I tried to veer away from the intellectual, because if you come with an intellectual argument, it can be thwarted away with an intellectual rebuttal. But if you come with something a bit more personal, then it's like, bro, this is my experience, innit? You can't just what are you gonna say? And
but that is why certain people like the what do you call it? His name. This evangelist who passed away, and then they later found out he did something.
Ravi Zacharias.
You see,
the
only reason he could. I really love the guy, I really loved him. I was so devastated. You know what? I found out from that day. You guys streamed. You guys, you made a podcast. I think that week about him. That is how I found out. And I was so upset.
Sorry, bro. Sorry, bro.
I was so upset. I was so upset. But hey, it is what it is. So you see, he, in his ability to argue, or not argue, but present the word in the way that he did, was because he was trained in that field of education. So that's why I think your argument is right and is good, only if you are an expert in that field, if that makes sense. Because then you have it is easier for you to say what you want to say with authority. Because people will challenge you, they would they'll be like, bro, I've got like 4 degrees and a PhD and do you know what I mean?
I got a lot of abbreviations after my name. You've just got a full stop. We're on different levels. We're on different levels.
Right there. Exactly. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
a really good
I think,
argument. Yeah. It's something that we should, and especially now that a lot of people are getting educated, I don't think we should throw it out. And I think it's something that we need to, encourage the younger ones, especially to
to
experts
explore,
in,
I think my argument would have almost been, okay, so there is a God, and for the most part, most of all of the gods require perfection on our part to be worthy of their presence, to be worthy of their mercy. To my knowledge, this is the only God who himself bridges the gap and comes and does the work that I have never been able to do in my entire life, in my entire existence. I have never been able to live one day without thinking or doing something that I shouldn't have done. And this is the only God who bridges the gap, who speaks about being the God of God and the Lord of Lords, he who set everything into motion. And not only has he set everything into motion, he still recognizes the brokenness that we all are born with. And he comes to bridge this gap. So it's almost like the engineer who designed the robot recognizes that it's defective, and so steps back in to repair it or reprogram it. And this is what is happening in Jesus. That the God who created the world has stepped back into it to repair it. I don't see that in any other. So yeah, even that, like, the God who created this harmonious world has seen that humanity has gone askew, and he's come back to repair and fix the harmony that has gone askew by humans being fallen, to restore this harmony. So that I think that would be the angle. I'll still need to think about it to kind of articulate it a bit more, but I think that would be the angle.
That is good.
Yeah.
Pete, what will be yours? You never said yours.
So
because yours is fine tuning,
but then also I like the moral law as well. And like I said, I'm liking the moral law more because it sort of steps over some steps. So fine tuning again. If we agree there's God, the reason I'm liking moral law because we're not only agreeing there's God, but we're agreeing there's God that's distinct from the things that's created. The whole idea of the note telling you what to do, not being the note, suggests that means we aren't God, and God is distinct from. God exists, and we aren't that God. That's the point. And the reason I say that is because if we are to look at God, the areas of thought that deal with God aren't science. Science presently has no. Science is all about the observable world and sort of what we can recreate. And science, as I said, starts with, well, we don't know what was, and then something exploded. It was nothing as far as science is concerned, and then it exploded. So whatever happened before, science can't speak to it because science can't observe it because that's already happened. And so we then have to go to something else. And the only other sort of sphere of human interaction that deals with the idea of God would be religion. And so then the question would become, what religion is right? And to answer that, you'd either have to know all religions or have to have a way of categorizing all religions. And it would appear you can categorize them based on a specific set of worldviews. One being only God exists, only the universe exists, and God and the universe both exist and are distinct from one another. And so the only God exists is a lot of the Eastern religions, the Hinduism, Buddhism. You are part of God, or we are all God, and the whole karmic thing. So you treat the elephant as though the elephant is also God because it's also part of God, and you are part of God, and the idea of you have to do right so that in your next life you become. I think they explain it as such: with every life you gain karmic debt that you then pay off in the next life until you finish paying off your debt, and then it's either nirvana or oblivion, whichever one comes first. But the moral law then suggests, well, we aren't God, and so it throws all of those religions out of the door. And then there is the only the universe exists, your atheist, your humanist, your whichever one. And again, the moral law suggests there is a God, and we've agreed on that, and so that's out the window as well. And so then it's only the religions that suggest God and the universe both exist and are distinct from one another, for which you've got your sort of monotheistic religions, which is Judaism, Christianity, Islam being the most prominent of those three. And all of those three, I end up thinking they hinge on one dude, or they all sort of recognize one dude. And actually, that one dude is recognized by everyone else. So the Dalai Lama will say, "Oh, I liked their Christ, I just don't like the Christians." You know, or what's it called? You know, the Hinduism will talk about Christ being a good moral teacher and all of these things. Everyone seems to agree on this individual Christ. Judaism, well, for one part, they thought he was the king, and so the whole Palm Sunday thing, Hosanna, they were worshiping him, thinking, yes, this is our saving king. And then when they decided that he isn't, they say crucify him, but they recognized him. They recognized who Christ was, and that he was a person of great knowledge at the very least. They recognize his significance. And then there is Islam, and they also recognize him. They say, oh, he was a great teacher, or one of the great prophets.
Yeah.
They don't want to say he's God, but they also recognize him. And Christianity, we say, well, he is God. We just go all the way out. Now, the interesting thing there is, for Judaism, even we think that they will turn around, they'll come back to it, because he fits so many prophetic things, and all of their history shows that
It's just how they are.
Yeah.
They'll come around.
They'll come around to it. This is the thing. With Islam, their thing with Christ is the only one that goes against all other historical references of him. So they say Christ was never crucified. He just moved wherever and then got married and whatever. But atheist historians, Jewish historians, Christian historians, all agree that Christ was crucified. So that historical thing then removes Islam from it, because if you guys are making that mistake on something that's proven historically, then,
what credibility do the rest of your arguments have?
Especially when everything centers around this one dude.
Yeah.
And so from there, the only thing left that's historically true regarding Christ and his at the very least crucifixion being a historical event, the only thing that gives contemporary account of his life from eyewitnesses, being the disciples, and the only thing that then fits both the Jewish Old Testament tradition and fits the Jewish Old Testament tradition is the Christ presented in the Bible. And from there, we have to then talk about the fact that his work then is the only one that, as you said, Mo, provides guarantee. Everything else is for the most part do good works, and then you get good. You ask the Muslim,
I'll speak to that. I think Jordan Peterson. I think was it that him or something. He said something in regarding that, and he was his thought process was, Jesus is the only one, right? Okay, so we've kind of like moved away from those who don't have any religion at all, don't believe there's a God, but we're now in the space where the people we're talking about believe there's a God, but who is
which God?
The way to the true God, right?
Yeah.
So his thought process was, Jesus is the only one who was prophesied about.
Yeah.
He's the only one who made claims of being a God.
Yeah.
He's the only one who said, of course, with the right interpretation, that he was going to die, he was going to be crucified, he was going to die, and he would rise again. and it's all recorded. He was the only one. None of the other prophets, none of the other messengers of the other religions claim that. And he's the only one who claims it and actually fulfills what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
So he was like, it just makes sense, doesn't it?
So pointing out how Jesus is the only one, all of these, everything centers around him. Everyone sort of recognizes him, but the Christ presented in the Bible is either he can only be one of three things. He can only either be Lord,
C.S. Lewis,
liar,
come on,
or
come on, hey, come on.
He can only be one of those three things.
Hey, bro, yeah. That gassed me up, C.S. Lewis. I see that as one of three things. I was like, yes.
So right. Lord, liar, or lunatic, and everywhere else, unless you can't take. He was just a good moral preacher because he also said he was God. So then, is he a good moral preacher, or is he a liar, or is he just outright crazy? Lunatic. Do you know what? He can't be a raving lunatic because he was a rabbi. He can't be a liar because everything he said was true. He has to be Lord.
The one thing that just really struck me as well is if we're going by the moral argument, Jesus is the only person who lived morally right throughout the entirety of his life. Yeah. And so even just off of that notion alone, it's like we believe that Jesus is God. Throughout human history, the entire human history, the only person who has been able to live a morally right life is Jesus.
Yeah. And even all the other religions don't dispute that.
Yeah, this is the thing.
They say he was a great man of God. He was a prophet. They agree that he was. Yeah. They just don't want to agree that he's the son of God.
And it's like, because if the God of Islam demands perfect obedience to the moral law. Obviously there's the 5 pillars of Islam that you kind of need to follow, like going to Mecca, praying 5 times a day, giving alms, stuff like that. But there is this underlying notion of, no, you need to live a certain type of lifestyle, and that almost makes it appealing to people in that there's humility, there's this discipline, all of them stuff there. But bro, Muhammad didn't live that lifestyle, bro.
No.
Do you know, I found out the other day, I didn't know a lot about the religion until the other day. I was listening to one of these guys, and apparently his wife was 12 years old, 13 years old.
One of his wives was 13.
We don't talk about that, you get so bombed.
Oh, really?
No, it's a no.
Them man do some IP and situation.
Sorry?
Did I mention any names?
Oh no! I'm joking.
I'm joking. You're gonna get found on YouTube.
No! I'm joking.
Them man do some IP IP.
I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah. But also remember, culturally, it was a bit more acceptable back then to take much younger wives.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
But then it's still recognized
as a grown man, as taking it. Like we're judging them based off current moral standards. But even Joseph and Mary were both fairly young. I believe they were teenagers.
Yeah.
But they were both, to my understanding, they were both teenagers. But yeah, I do know that there is this disparity, and some cultures are even now still fighting against teenage marriages. So yeah, I recognize that. But yeah, you're right. One of his wives was 13, I believe.
Underage, yeah.
They do have arguments around that.
Yeah.
Because she was isolated and he took him under the wing. No, bro. Yeah.
I need to
he needs a QR code.
Oh, and she killed him.
She killed him.
Yeah, he fam. So yeah,
That's the other thing as well. There's only Christ is the one that's alive. Only he has an empty tomb. And someone's like, if you're gonna ask for direction for someone, ask for the guy that's alive, innit?
Exactly. That was the Oh dear.
Oh, bro, I don't remember who said it, but someone dropped the lines of why are we asking dead people advice on how to live?
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, interesting. But you're right. It's
true.
The blind leading the blind. No, go to the person that can still see.
Yeah. And there's historical evidence. There's an empty tomb. They knew where Christ's tomb was. There's the whole fishermen will not overpower or get past Roman soldiers. Fishermen will not do that.
Not possible.
There was something else that had to happen there.
Bro.
The whole thing of women being the first to see him, and how that actually wouldn't, if you're writing a story in that time, you won't write it with women being the first to go and see him.
Yeah.
It's disgraceful admission, you know.
And have you seen the tombs they used to bury people in?
Yeah.
Bro, the stuff covering the entrance is no joke.
Yeah. You don't just roll it away.
It requires
sneak past.
Wingardium Leviosa.
You know.
It's no joke. It requires a few soldiers to roll it away. So yeah.
And they had a band of soldiers that were guarding it in rotation.
Specifically so that they can't come and steal their master's body away. That was the reason the Roman soldiers were there, specifically. And then the whole thing of, if it was a lie, why are these guys giving up their lives for it? Out of the 12, I think 11 of the disciples died for their faith. For their faith in this dude.
Man was boiled alive in oil. What? Yo!
That's the other argument as well. Because why will that is so true, because after, all right, Jesus is come and gone, and why will the rest of the disciples die for something they do not believe in?
Yeah, they wouldn't die for a lie. They wouldn't. They couldn't.
Bro.
Especially
as soon as you show me that pot of oil, I'm out.
Yo, Jesus, body is in Peter's house. It's in Peter's house. Yeah, let me draw you a map to where the body is. We're going to where the body is. Don't put me in this hot oil. You're going to crucify me upside down? For what reason?
Bro, and the wickedest thing is, Peter was like, I'm not worthy to be crucified in the same way as Jesus. Flick me the wrong way, the other way around. Bro, blood rushing to your head, you know?
If they hadn't seen stoned, you throw the first stone at me, I'm like, hold on, it's okay, hold on.
Come on, man.
Hold on.
I remember now.
Have you seen that meme? Let me tell you something.
You're not thinking of what to say. It's like, let me tell you something.
The minute that first stone hits me, I'm like, wait, let me tell you something. If it wasn't true, if they hadn't seen a man come back from death, if they hadn't seen a man go up into heaven and heard all the teachings of Christ and be fully convinced that he was God, they wouldn't live those lives. And so that's how you get to Christ, man.
Yeah, but then it goes to show, isn't it? I mean, with all that evidence, people still don't believe. It takes the spirit to convict a man's heart.
Yeah,
this is the thing.
Facts.
That's the other thing. All of this aside, all the apologists aside, all these arguments. At the end of the day, it's God that does the saving and does the change in people's hearts. And that's we just pray and do our part. And
bro, do you know the beautiful thing about all of this? We've gone through all of this and we have just landed on a very Calvinistic tone.
Right. It is God that gives us the free will to respond.
None can come unless drawn.
We do not have another hour and a half to discuss. But it's facts, though. It's facts. Somehow, God is the one that, God is the one that does the same and changes man's heart.
Moral will, sovereign will. There's like the sovereignty of God and the free will of man are both presented in His word, and so they both coexist somehow. If anyone figures it out, I don't know. But God is God,
know.
and He can do whatever He wants to do. You know, like that. Exactly. And even if you let me know, I doubt I'll believe you, because I believe that that's in the mysteries of God. So if you believe you figured it out, then I believe that you're almost trying to claim that you're God. I don't believe you, because that is a mystery. How God's sovereignty and man's free will can coexist. But in the Bible, it does.
Yeah. Facts. Cool. I think that's a beautiful place to round up. I think that was dope. I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was.
That's our longest sorry not sorry ever.
Fam, man, appreciate you coming through, getting out of bed to come through. You know,
thanks for having me. I'll tell you a little secret. The only reason I'm home in bed is because I've got COVID.
Oh wow!
It's my first COVID as well, bro. It's not fun.
Oh no,
bro! You know what?
Did you get COVID? Did you get it?
We got it. We got it late though. We got it late as well. We got it this year. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. I caught Omicron twice, boy.
Have you?
Got that
I've got the jab as well. I was like, why am I getting it?
Yeah.
Did you get one jab or did you get all
I got both.
Oh, you still got it. Oh, sorry, man.
Double jabs. But it's just interesting how God works, because I was Portia was having a baby during the lockdown, remember? So
you said that, I was like, wait, you've had another baby?
No, just 3. So
man said
just 3.
In this economy, 3 is not just.
Bro, when you get to where I am, it's just you could do it. Anyway, so God being so good, we went through that period. I mean, I didn't get it at all. And then at the time, I was in the police force, so you can imagine I didn't stay at home. I was out every day as well, and I never got it. I never got it. They got it a couple of times. The kids got it as well, and then now I think everything is just calmed down. It's your turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all the more reason to appreciate you, man, for coming on.
Facts.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's dope.
Hookups.
We've kind of already got one, because this Give Me an Answer YouTube is. I'm definitely checking that out.
Yeah. Really good. Yeah. He answers. He talks to kids, young students. So all kinds of questions come up, and he's able to navigate his way through the complexities of people's psyche. Because people are very intellectual when they come to give those questions, or they're very one-sided. So, but he finds his way of bringing him back to what the Bible says. It's very very interesting.
That's dope. Cool. That's dope. I would even say I know you've hooked up already, but
I was gonna say that. All right, yeah. That was gonna be my hookup. Yeah, Mere Christianity was gonna be my hookup. Dope. Yeah. I was gonna say, Nat, do you have another hookup at all, or do you want to go and give me an answer?
Oh boy, no.
Cool. One more.
I'm gonna take it old school, with a particular song from Shai Linne.
Hey.
Oh.
I believe.
What's it called?
Hold on. I'm trying to. Oh, it's called Jesus is Alive.
Jesus is Alive.
From Shai Linne, Jesus is Alive. It's from his Stories album. Let me just go to album, view album. The Atonement album. The album is sick. It drops 2008. But yeah, Jesus is Alive. And literally he's like
15 years ago.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 15 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 15 years ago. Like literally the guy's like, Muhammad is dead. Buddha is dead. This person is dead. But Jesus is alive. That's the whole chorus. Man's calling out bare different deities and prophets and stuff. And it's like, this person is dead. this person is dead,
Wow.
but Jesus is, and then he goes into the verses and like,
Yeah.
But that whole album is sick. That whole album in terms of the atonement, sick.
Nice.
After every song, there's an interlude that kind of speaks about the biblical truths of the next song, and then it kind of goes into it. Yeah, sick.
Them lamp mode days, man.
Yeah. Now everyone's on their own vibe.
Yeah. Nah, cool.
Cool.
Oh. Ryben Media. Could be a good
Hey, come on.
Ryben Media.
Plug.
So check him out, please.
Check the show notes, Instagram handles, and all of them things are gonna be there.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Fam. Email for the price list, yeah?
Yes,
Come
sir.
If you say Blacksmith Fairness, you get like a 2% discount or something.
No.
Come on.
No, you don't. No discounts. You might increase it by 2% because you're supporting the thing. You're supporting the thing, you know, like that. Black Pound Day. You're supporting the thing. Increase it by 2%.
It's gonna go up. It's gonna go up.
Yeah. Yesterday's price is not
does.
today's price.
Nah. We're 2023, mate.
Yeah, check out Ryben Media for like if you've got events and you want some videography, photography.
Sure.
OD comes through. Took some pictures at my wedding. Interestingly enough, all the pictures we blew up are the ones that OD took.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no shade. No shade on that.
No shade. No shade on the photographer we actually paid to be there, but it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, the
he
video,
got his money.
Yeah. I put the video. I put on my Instagram. I said it was I was the unofficial videographer for the day.
Yeah.
Really
Our wedding video. Our videographer was just our videographer was a con man, but OD made us a wedding wedding video highlight reel type. It was so dope. So please, check him out. Check out Ryben Media.
It was featuring man like Mo as well. Mo was doing his thing.
I was trying. Don't holler at me though. Holler my man. Don't holler at me because I don't do commissions no more.
Yes.
Bro. Yeah. I don't. Though I holler, I don't do it no more, man. Yeah.
It's the good canon.
Yeah. This is where I wish I recorded. Well, I could just cut it out for another episode. Recorded Robert doing his last minute thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, because I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'm too tired. But check us out wherever you get your podcast. Yeah. We're on
Email,
Instagram somewhere.
Instagram, Twitter, just type the Blacksmith Furnace. We're good.
And it'll be in the show notes as well. If you want to get in touch, you can find us in the show notes. So do that. But again, Odi, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Facts.
I'm praying that you feel much better soon.
Oh, soon.
Yes.
I'm getting some good rest though, so I'm not complaining.
That's good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this will be the Blacksmith Furnace signing out.